Hello and welcome everyone again into another video. I believe this is the second video of the day, but hey, there is tomorrow. There is Master League Premier Classic, and I know most people I know I am late on making this content, and lots of people already contacted me like, Yasser, what's the top teams for Master League Premier Classic? And it's here. So, sorry for being late. Had lots of stuff to do, and I can finally record it and post it on my YouTube channel. So, if you're new to the channel, I do weekly meta discussions about every new cup that we will be getting. So if there is 2 cups, there will be 2 videos. If there is there's every 2 weeks we get to 1 cup, like open leagues, either open ultra, open great, or open mastered. But every week there is a new themed cup. So the themed cup for this week is Master League Premier Classic, and in today's video we'll be talking about the top teams and the most meta Pokemons and how did the meta change in Master League Premier Classic. So historical background: Master League Premier Classic started as Double Dragons, the league where there is Garchomp and Dragonite with Metagross. This is before Excadrill gets Mudshot. So that was the meta. Then Excadrill got Mudshot, then meta changed into Dragon Double Steel. The Dragon could be Garchomp, Haxorus, or the Dragonite, depend on what you like and how's your playstyle. Then after that, Gyarados was an anti-meta Pokemon in both of those metas, and then Gyarados became the main meta, and the meta became Gyarados Double Steel. It replaced the dragons because it has Dragon Breath. It does super effective Dragon Breath to dragons and take neutral damage. Yes, Dragon Breath stab does much more, but Gyarados was the safest Pokemon at one point. Then Metagross stopped existing, and the fact and Shadow Snorlax shined better because it beats Excadrill and Metagross and Gyarados if you have the Shadow one. If you don't have the Shadow Snorlax, you can use Best Buddy, non-Shadow Snorlax. If you don't have a Best Buddy Snorlax, I don't think it's a good idea to use it. What's the difference? The difference is that the Best Buddy one at level 40 and at level 50 gets an attack Lick Breakpoint versus Gyarados, which is the most common Pokemon in the meta. That Breakpoint, imagine you're doing 1 extra damage from Lick, and Lick is 1 turn. So by the end of the matchup, that's lots of damage. That's you do, instead of doing 2, you do 3. That's 50% more fast move pressure just by having Best Buddy. It's literally the most valuable Best Buddy in the entire game. After, I would say Dialga. Dialga is number 1. Number 2, it's Snorlax. Number 3, it used to be Metagross because you get an extra HP which helps you to beat a Dragonite in the 2, but that's before the Dragonite has superpower. And then after people started using Gyarados and Excadrill, the only Pokemon that could beat both is Florges. Why Florges? It's a fairy Pokemon, so it resists, and it has Power Whip, I think, and Vine Whip. So it's like a fairy Pokemon with a grass moveset, which helps it to beat the dragons and the ground. So Florges became now number 1 on PvPoke. It's the best Pokemon according to PvPoke, but Shadow Snorlax and Gyarados still the safest Pokemon. So I am expecting Metagross to be back to the meta. Why? Because it's the most reliable Pokemon that can destroy Florges. So if they have Florges, you have Metagross, you farm it all the way down, and then you have 2 Meteor Mashes to just throw on the next Pokemon. And believe me, there is no Pokemon that can take 2 Meteor Mashes. It does, even if they are both even if Meteor Mash is resisted, because Meteor Mash is the hardest hitting 2-bar charge move in the Master League meta. So those are the Pokemons that used to be the meta. Now, what is the current meta? The current meta, I divide them into good leads, counter swaps, and generals, which are good everywhere. So the leads, most likely, Master League Premier Classic is known for the most RPS league in the world. So you either lead the dragon that beat everything except the fairies, or you lead the fairy that beats the dragon, loses to steel, or you lead the steel that beats the fairy and almost lose to dragons, because dragons now has a fighting fast move or a charge move like Haxorus has counter. Garchomp has ground moveset. Dragonite has superpower. Como-O, which is now being a budget bad version of Dragonite after Dragonite gets the superpower. But to be honest, Ursaluna is an interesting Pokemon. One, Ursaluna has high CP. It has a bad moveset though, so if they have something like Garchomp, you're pretty much gonna lose. But if they have Dragonite, it's a different case because you can throw Thunder Punch. It's a neutral move, and you just... I think Saluna has a much higher CP than Dragonite. I don't know by a much higher. I think it's just higher CP than Dragonite. And it doesn't have Body Slam, but has high horsepower, which is a solid charge move that can one-shot most of the steals. So if you have Energy Lead on this Pokemon, you're good to go. I think you're solid Pokemon. The best safe swaps in this cub are basically Gyarados and Snorlax. And they are also good counter swaps. If they swap in Metagross, you go to your Shadow Snorlax, or you to Gyarados, the game is GG. If they safe swap an Excadrill, you safe swap a Waterfall Gyarados, and you farm it all the way down. Yes, you have to go down a shield, but you will leave the matchup with lots of energy. And every fast move is viable on Gyarados. Dragon Tail, Dragon Breath, Waterfall. Also, every charge move is viable. You can run Aqua Tail Crunch, you can run Aqua Tail Outrage, you can run Aqua Tail Hydro Pump if you want. The thing about Florges, it's the fairy Pokemon that can beat the dragons and ground. So that's like the main use about this Pokemon, especially now after the nerf to Charm, so you can't rely on Charmers anymore. So Florges is being the safest option. So if you combine it with Snorlax and Gyarados, you get yourself the safest non-RPS team in the game. Conkeldurr is just a hard punish to Snorlax because it's very bulky. It's a bulky fighter that hits hard, but the problem with it is just very slow and doesn't have a baiting charge move. Hopefully we get a community day for this Pokemon and they give it some Ice Punch or Fire Punch, or just give it all the elemental punches because it should learn them. Look at these gigantic arms. This thing should have all punches. It shouldn't even be a legacy move. It's like the best fighter in the game. That aren't a legendary Pokemon, right? Some people might say Lucario, but Lucario is like a very glass cannon. Generals, those are Pokemon that do not get walled, and they are good almost all the time. I mean, you could argue that Dragonite and Garchomp get walled by fairies, but Excadrill literally doesn't get walled by anything. There is no Pokemon in the game that can tank 2 moves from Excadrill in Master League. Same for Metagross. If Metagross has Energy Lead and they don't have a hard punish, Metagross is gonna win you the game. So those are like the main Pokemons, but they aren't the only Pokemons that you can use. Some Core Breakers that deserve an honorable mention. Magnezone as being the hardest Gyarados answer. You can literally spark the Gyarados all the way down. You pretty much need to shield, but hey, you're the hardest answer to the fairies and what? And Gyarados. Rhyperior, the problem with the Rhyperior, if you run Rhyperior, every time you have Smackdown, you wish you have Mud Slap. Every time you have Mud Slap, you wish you have Smackdown. Every time you have Surf, you wish you have Superpower. Every time you have Superpower, you wish you have Surf. Every time you have both, you wish you have Rock Wrecker. That's the problem with this Pokemon. It's just very unreliable, and most of the moves do not cover each other. It's like the best way would be like running Smackdown with Surf and Superpower, and then the moment you do that, you're gonna queue into Excadrill. Heracross deserves a mention, but the problem with Heracross is that it lacks the stat product. It doesn't have enough stats. Same for Machamp. Anti-Dragons, you can use the Charmers, but I believe the Charmers are bad. So Glaceon is more reliable, but you can always use Florges. And Hisuian Sneasler deserve a mention. It's just a higher CP Toxicroak. Is it good? I don't think so. Is it? Can you use it? Yes, you can. You can use literally any Pokemon you want. Now, these are like the Core Breakers and the Pokemons. What are the top meta teams? The best team, according to PvPoke from last season, was Gyarados, Dragonite, Excadrill. Why? Because this team has coverage almost to everything. It doesn't have the best bulk, but it has a decent stat product. It has a decent CP. It has a decent charge moves. Like, this team almost covers everything. And the fast move on Gyarados is very flexible. You can literally go with anything you want. But is this the best team? this was like on paper the best team. But the actual best team was a Florges team. Why? Because this team prevent the RPS and you punish all the steal swaps. You have solid answers to dragons, and if you can run Waterfall Gyarados in any of the teams. You can also run Dragon Breath. I am a fan of Waterfall, but I feel like Dragon Breath is just straight better. So this is the best performing team from last cycle, and I believe this team became popular like the 3rd or the 4th day as like the most non-RPS team. But it does RPS the dragons, yes. You cannot dodge RPS in this cup. Another solid team list that was less RPS, but you can still RPS, is Gyarados with Excadrill with either Togekiss or Florges. What's the difference? Well, Florges is less RPS, Togekiss is more RPS. This team just hard punish the dragon. I don't know, this is like 3 safe Pokemons. That's like the main thing about this team. If you don't have, some people like, I don't run Excadrill, I do run Shadow Snorlax, and I believe the Smash King is the one who popularized this team. Where's the shout out to Smash King? I believe I didn't finish anything about this, but yeah, hey, we're giving him credit, right? So this is the team that he was running, and he actually was coaching lots of people, and most of his students hit legendary, I think, using this team. So make sure to check his live stream at twitch.tv/smash_king08 if you want to run this team. Although with Dragonite getting the superpower, it started replacing the fairies, because fairies were good at making steel more meta, and Dragonite, by having Dragon Claw and superpower, it beats the dragons and the steel. Same for Gyarados, which beats the dragon and almost all the steel, and same for Snorlax, which is good versus all the dragons, and it can still beat the steel. So I am a fan of this team. This is the team I would be running, because it's just very safe and very less RPS. Now, speaking of RPS, what's an RPS team? This is an RPS team. Gyarados, double steal. If you win the lead, you're gonna win the swap, you're gonna win the back. The main trick about this team is that if they swap in Excadrill, you pretty much need to be fast, and you need to know you need to be prepared on playing the safest swap Excadrill. Because if you have a Dragon Breath, you're pretty much almost gonna lose that. But the best way would be don't shield the first dragon, don't shield the first Excadrill, the first Rock Slide. Try to get a shield advantage and then rely on your Excadrill sweeping. And again, Metagross does not need shield. So in this team, you pretty much save at least 1 shield for your Excadrill. Another team you could run with Dragonite and Gyarados is you can have Metagross in the back. If people have Florges, Metagross is the ultimate counter to the Florges teams, and it pretty much destroyed that Pokemon. So these are like the main teams from last season or last cycle. What are the teams that were popular before? So I'm gonna mention the teams that were popular before last season, like almost in every season, and they were basically, so you can just get an idea of how to use in this cup, because this cup is always fast. The meta in this cup always changing, and there is like literally in every day you will see different type of teams, because people are trying to get out of the RPS by running new stuff, and those new stuff people are going to try to counter them, and the cycle keeps going on, because there is pretty much no Pokemon that can beat everything. The best team used to be Dragonite Double Steel. You could also say the same about Haxorus Double Steel, which is literally the same, but just by changing the dragon. But the best team the team I used to run was basically Garchomp, because Garchomp is my favorite Pokemon, with Excadrill and Togekiss. Unlucky, like we can't run Togekiss anymore because the nerf to Charm is actually bad and it's not as good as it used to. It still destroys the dragons, but it's not that good versus non-dragons. So I wouldn't run this team. If you are a fan of Garchomp, I would run this team. In fact, Garchomp with Snorlax and Excadrill. But I remember like someone was running something different, so they wouldn't run Garchomp, they would run Swampert, because Swampert versus Gyarados is not as annoying as having Garchomp versus Gyarados. I think the problem with Garchomp versus Gyarados is that Gyarados just walls Garchomp. You pretty much need to have a Dragon Tail and Outrage and hope that they don't shield. But every time you nuke, they will no shield. Every time you bait, they will every time you nuke, they will shield. Every time you bait, they will no shield. But Swampert, if you can run Sludge, it's less bad, but it's still horrible. But the thing about Swampert is that you destroy all the steel. But if I want to run something like that, to be honest, I would just run Snorlax. Now moving into the Wholesome team. Do you guys know Wholesome's Ultra League team? He implemented the same team in Master League. He replaced G-Fisk with Excadrill. Yes, it's mind-blowing, okay? Look at this 500 IQ team. He used to run Snorlax, Swampert, Shadow Machamp, Snorlax, and Amok. Then he started using G-Fisk instead of Amok after upgrading his team in Season 8 because he got a Shundo G-Fisk. And then he started playing the same team. He couldn't use G-Fisk in Master League Classic because his G-Fisk was XL already. So he decided to use Excadrill. I don't know where he got that idea from, but it seems to be legit and a good team. Okay, it's actually one of the best teams out there that doesn't rely on RPS to win, and he pretty much knows how to play every matchup. So give him a follow, wholesome _ on twitch.tv. A famous Go Battle Log team is Magnezone, Gyarados, Garchomp. Magnezone used to be solid because it beats the steel before Excadrill became a thing. It beats all steel, and it beats the Charmers, and it beats Gyarados, and it beats the Dragonite. Now that the match isn't as comfortable for Magnezone because Dragonite has superpower. And I believe this is like the most common teams, but there is a team that I need to recommend, okay? Easy Legend team. Just run Gyarados double Charm, double Fairies, okay? Waterfall Gyarados with 2 Fairies. You can choose 2 of those 4. It's preferred to have Florges as one of the Fairies, but hey, if you just want to hit Legend by tapping your screen, this is your best team. This is your best option. And yeah, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much everyone for watching. If you've been watching until now, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. If you like the video, make sure to leave a like. If you have any question about any of these teams, leave in the comment section below, and I will be glad to answer all of your questions. So the end of the video. See you in the next one. Peace.